He was perfect, charming, attentive, with a smile that lit up his face. He swept her off her feet. They married quickly, deeply in love. He promised her the world. She believed him. She never questioned his love. He brought her flowers, wrote poetry, held her hand during thunderstorms. He was everything she ever wanted. Their life together was a dream, or so she thought. She remembers the day they met, a chance encounter at a bookstore. He loved the same authors, laughed at her jokes. He was handsome, successful, and utterly smitten with her. She felt like the luckiest woman alive. Little did she know, darkness lurked beneath the surface, a darkness she wouldn't see for far too long. His temper flared. Small things set him off, a misplaced item, a burnt dinner. He'd apologized later, blaming work stress. She forgave him. He was still the man she loved. She noticed the changes slowly. His easy smile came less often. His eyes, once filled with warmth, seemed cold, distant. He withdrew, spending hours alone in his study. He stopped asking about her day, stopped bringing her flowers. He became distant, preoccupied. When she questioned him, he brushed her off, said she was imagining things. She clung to the memory of the man she fell in love with, the man who wrote her poetry, who held her hand. She told herself it was just a rough patch. Everyone went through them, didn't they? He started receiving strange calls, whispered conversations late at night. When confronted, he became defensive, evasive, said it was work. She tried to believe him. He was gone for days. No explanation, no calls. She paced the floor, worry gnawing at her. When he finally returned, he was distant, cold. He smelled of rain and something else, something unfamiliar. He was drinking heavily. His temper, always close to the surface, now erupted over the smallest things. He slammed doors, threw objects. He never hit her, not yet. She found a box hidden in the attic. Inside, strange objects. A blood-stained knife, a lock of hair. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't her husband. This wasn't the man she knew. She started having nightmares, vivid, terrifying dreams. He was a monster, teeth bared, eyes glowing red. She'd wake up in a cold sweat, his scent clinging to the sheets. He was always watching her. His eyes followed her every move. She felt suffocated, trapped, like a bird in a gilded cage. Fear became her constant companion, fear of his anger, fear of what he might do next. She started locking her bedroom door at night, a flimsy barrier against the monster he had become. She couldn't deny it any longer. Something was terribly wrong. The man she loved was gone, replaced by something sinister, something monstrous. Section 5. Confirmation of her fears. The news reported a string of disappearances. Young women vanishing without a trace. Their descriptions matched the lock of hair she found. Her stomach churned. She confronted him. His eyes, once filled with love, now burned with a cold fire. He didn't deny it. He confessed everything. The disappearances, the darkness that consumed him. He told her she was next, that he couldn't control the monster within. He begged her to run, to save herself. But it was too late. She was already caught in his web of horror. Fear threatened to consume her. But beneath the fear, a new emotion bloomed. A cold, steely resolve. She would escape him. She would survive. Section 6. Trapped in a nightmare. He kept her locked in the house. No phone, no contact with the outside world. She was a prisoner in her own home. Her fear morphed into a steely determination to survive. Days blurred into nights. She lived in a constant state of terror, never knowing when he might snap. He brought her food, water, treating her like a caged animal. He would whisper to her at night, his voice a chilling rasp. He spoke of his hunger, his need. He told her she was his, body and soul. She knew she couldn't reason with him. He was no longer the man she married. This creature was something else entirely, something monstrous. Section 7. A Glimmer of Hope. One day he left her a window unlocked, an oversight or a test, she didn't care. It was her chance, her only chance. She waited until nightfall, her heart pounding in her chest. He was passed out, the stench of alcohol heavy in the air. She crept past him, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The night air was cool on her skin. Freedom. She ran towards the woods, the darkness swallowing her whole. She could hear him calling her name, his voice a guttural growl. She didn't look back. She ran until her lungs burned, until her legs screamed for mercy. She had to escape, for her life. Section 8. The Escape. She found refuge at a small diner. The waitress, a kind woman with tired eyes, helped her call the police. They arrived quickly, their faces grim. She told them everything. The disappearances, the hidden box, the terror. They listened intently, their eyes filled with a mixture of horror and disbelief. She led them back to the house, her hand trembling as she pointed to the front door. They went in, guns drawn, ready for anything. But the house was empty. He was gone. They never found him. He vanished without a trace, leaving behind only the chilling echo of his crimes, and a wife forever haunted by the monster he had become. Section 9. Picking up the pieces. She rebuilt her life, piece by shattered piece. The fear lingered, a shadow in the corners of her mind, but she refused to let it control her. She found solace in therapy, in the support of other survivors. She learned to laugh again, to trust again, but she never forgot the lessons learned in the darkness. She became an advocate for victims of domestic abuse, using her voice to empower others. She knew her story could make a difference, could save lives. The monster may have taken her innocence, her sense of safety, but he wouldn't take her spirit. She would rise from the ashes, stronger, braver, forever changed.